international media rights regarding the sale. Now, under the existing contracts, the Italian league earns around $292.9 million annually from its international media rights, a fraction compared to the English Premier League overseas income. Back home now, Swimming South Africa President Alan Fritz has told SABC Sport that the Federation will meet with the Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie to address the budget cuts affecting the sport. Now, Swimming South Africa is among the federations that had $115,000 cut from their funding allocation. Fritz also confirmed that they held brief discussions with the ministry and agreed to set up a formal meeting to deal with just how these reductions will affect swimming, one of South Africa's most reliable Olympic medal winning sports, ahead of the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games. The minister has agreed to meet Fritz and his team to expose the impact of the cuts and also the potential solutions.
Okay. We highlighted to the minister that, look, the budget cuts would put sports back. We wanted to make that very clear. The minister said, guys, go and draw up your list of your requirements. We're going to meet, I can't recall whether it's 30 or 60 days, we're going to meet and we're going to listen to all your issues, and we will make a decision based on what you've told us. That was our parting shot.
Now, Fritz also says he hopes that the minister will bow to the public pressure and also reconsider the decision to slash the budget cuts. Fritz also added that the funding cut will have serious consequences for several sporting codes, including swimming, and urged Minister McKenzie to revisit his decision.
We hope that the minister would revisit the budget cuts, because we can't achieve and do what we're supposed to do, because citizens of our country don't understand that dynamic. All they want is there's got to be a medal in the bag, and that's what they want. Now, if there is budget cuts or non-funding, it really puts us on the back foot. And I really would plead to the minister to review the decision to cut budgets, fund the codes that you expect to bring the returns.
And finally, the Ryder Cup is one of the most beloved as well as anticipated events in sports. There's no monetary amount up for grabs for this year's winners of this Ryder Cup competition. But this year, for the very first time in the history of the event, American players are receiving a personal stipend for their participation. So since 1999, US players have received $200,000 to donate to a charity of their own choice. Now, this year, that amount increased to $300,000 with an additional $200,000 tacked on for the player to spend however he wishes. Meanwhile, yesterday we saw Europe defeating the USA in this year's tournament to be officially declared as the 2025 Ryder Cup winners. Well, that's a wrap of your sports news this afternoon on Channel Africa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is exactly 4:38 Central African time as we turn our sights now to Zimbabwe. The country has signed a trade agreement allowing fresh blueberries to be exported to China. The country's Horticultural Development Council, the HDC, says production is expected to rise from 8,000 metric tons in 2024 to 12,000 metric tons. This is due to favorable climate conditions, increased agricultural investment, and rising demand for this healthy and, might I add, delicious food. Farmers in the country have expressed optimism about the growth prospects of the Chinese export market. More will be joined on the line by the president of the Zimbabwe Young Farmers Association for Sustainable Development, Dr. Joseph Kakoto. A very good afternoon to you, Doctor. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
I must say, Doc, this is quite a momentous development, this trade agreement that Zimbabwe has signed with China. What does this mean for the country's blueberry industry?
follow on that detail. You can come again, please.
Yes, I was asking what this trade agreement between Zimbabwe and China, what this means for Zimbabwe's blueberry industry.
Okay. Yeah, the signing of Zimbabwe-China Blackberry Export Protocol, it's a milestone for Zimbabwean agriculture. It will new market access. Farmers, including youth and women, can now export blackberries direct into one of the largest and fastest growing consumer markets in the world. Opportunities for young farmers. This opens doors for youth-led agribusiness under the platforms like Zimbabwe Young Farmers for Sustainable Development to venture into high-value horticulture, bringing foreign currency and decent incomes. Investment growth protocol will likely attract investment in infrastructure, pack houses, cold chain facilities, and plantations, creating jobs along the value chain.
I wonder, Doctor, what the HDC has said, and it makes complete sense, is that there does need to be a rise in the production. The numbers quoted are from 8,000 metric tons in 2024 to 12,000 metric tons. What support do small-scale farmers and young farmers, whom you've also just spoken about, what type of support will they be receiving in order to enable them to be able to take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, the advantage is very open for young people and the women in agribusiness. In example, I can tell that I have the confidence on this protocol for the signing. For us as young people, we now unite in order to go back there in huge quantities to double export. For us to use this advantage to benefit and other access for foreign currency and other infrastructure development and other processing machinery. When we are going to negotiate with China, we are not only going to stop only on the matter of the protocol exporting. No, we are expanding our relationships in agribusiness so that we can open another door for small scale farm equipment to come and give other young people for processing purposes and other tech houses.
All right.
Yes.
All right. We'll leave it at that for this afternoon, Dr. Joseph Kakoto. We wish you all the best as Zimbabwe. Certainly a lot of opportunities that lie ahead. We thank you for your time today.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have time and we will continue working together in give more info.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Doctor. I mean, one also has to ask you what other opportunities lie for Zimbabwe beyond the export of blueberries, this hopefully being just one of many commodities that will be, or products rather, that will be exported into the Asian market. He brings us to exactly 4:43. That was Dr. Joseph Kakoto. He's the president of the Zimbabwe Young Farmers Association for Sustainable Development.
Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is literally all systems go as preparations for the summit to take place, the G20 summit taking place in the month of November. And Hostex is set to be hosting a webinar later on this month, on the 30th of September actually, to put the country's hospitality, food, drink and retail readiness under the spotlight. This is ahead of the G20 Leaders Summit, which is happening from the 22nd to the 23rd of November 2025. The webinar, which takes place tomorrow, will focus on critical strategies and what must happen behind the doors in order to deliver world-class standards when over 40 heads of state and thousands of delegates arrive, and also ensure that South Africa shines come November. For more on this, we joined on the line by Lerato Nako, event manager for Hostex. A very good afternoon to you. Great to be hosting you in Africa in Business. Welcome, Lerato.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me, Thami, and glad to be back on Channel Africa.
So, how important is the hospitality's role in the hosting of the G20 Leaders Summit later on in November?
I think it's a big milestone. It's another first for the African continent where we host a global event. We're privileged enough. I'm looking outside my window and I can see the FNB Stadium, and right next to it will be NASREC, who's hosting all 40 international delegates coming and head of state coming. And the importance is hospitality is the backbone of employment in our country, but not just in our country, it's a gateway to trade and exporting. South Africa is seen as a great gateway, and it's an opportunity to make sure that as we prep ourselves from a hospitality point of view, we are seen as a tourist destination, but we must stop being just seen as a tourist destination. We are seen also as a gateway to the African continent. And it's put it as a sector in hospitality, in trade, B2B. We have discussions to say, how do we support each other? We survived it with the World Cup. What are the legacy programs? And what can we learn from other countries that have hosted an event like this? We're already having conversations of hosting other big events like the Formula One, where we will be looking at pitching. It's important that as an industry and as a sector, we network and we see how we can benchmark ourselves on a global stage.
I wonder what tomorrow is going to be looking like as far as some of the topics that you're going to be dealing with tomorrow. What are your objectives? And take us through some of the topics that will be covered.
I think the biggest thing is that as Hostex, we've seen ourselves as a hub for the industry to have a network and converse and share ideas. Yes, we do a trade show that is B2B, but it's important that we keep conversational. The show happens every 2 years, but we keep conversational and we keep abreast with what the rest of the continent is doing. And tomorrow we've got our ambassadors who are leaders within the industry. We will have Chef Trevor Boyd, we'll have Ian, we have Fedhasa and the chairperson representing us, including financial sectors who will be coming on board to see how is the industry ready when it comes to upscaling. But I mean, it's already too late, and I know a lot of the establishments have already set up and renovations have happened. But how do we as an industry and hospitality make sure that post the shows and post these global events, we keep the industry going, we keep relevant to business, and we open up the MICE industry for our sectors?
And I mean, will this be the only meeting that you're having, or will there be more meetings leading up to the 22nd and 23rd of November?
So this one is very industry specific with our hospitality people. We have divided it up from our beverage SMEs because we do understand that that's where jobs lie within our country, and that's where business can happen across the continent. And what will happen is that we're just getting people ready so that when we do host the trade show that happens in March, between the 8th and the 10th of March next year, we are ready, but also making sure that people stay abreast. We want to have them every 6 months. And please look out on our social media pages, Hostex ZAR, on Facebook and on Instagram, and then on LinkedIn. If you can look us up as Hostex, and of course you can visit our website hostex.co.za.
So who can
a lot of information will
right. So who can attend, Lerato, and is it free?
It is free. It's a conversation to say what has the likes of Brazil that hosted the show last year, how have they capitalized on it? What are the likes from leaders within hospitality, like Fedhasa, Federation of Hoteling and Beverage and Coffee Industry? What are they doing? How have they prepped themselves to trade shows like this, but global events within the sectors. Anybody can attend. It is free, but I must say, it is business to business. So we encourage people that want to play in the B20 as this different side events. It's very business to business audiences that will come on board. And the idea is just to share information with one another and make sure that even post November 22nd, how do we get ready for the F1?
Lots of opportunities. I tell you, the window has opened. The window is open. Lerato, we thank you so much. So what time tomorrow is the webinar taking place from?
Tomorrow, the webinar happens at 9:30, and we will be done at 11 o'clock. We do have our panel of experts who will open up, and I will be facilitating the conversation there in terms of what are the learnings. These are people that have traveled the world. They lead big corporates. They've got world experience, and we then will have breakaway sessions where within the different sectors, people can have a conversation from SMEs. How do I get involved? How do I prep myself? And yeah, we'll have 30-minute breakaway sessions after that.
Awesome.
So it's a 1 hour, 30-minute
wow
conversation. Yeah.
It really is. Thank you so much, Lerato. Wishing you all of the best as preparations towards the 22nd and 23rd of November get well underway. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's Lerato Nako. She's event manager for Hostex as they prepare the industry business to business, she says. So if you have any sort of interest in participating in the G20 from a B20 perspective, do make sure that you do log on to it. It's free. It's online as well. From 9:30 Central African time to 11 a.m. It's gone exactly 4:51.
Africa in Business. Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African Perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa.
All right, so this week in our FNB slot, we'll be speaking to Koketso Mano, who's a senior economist at FNB, and that's how we're going to be rounding up our conversations and our spotlight on various business developments on the African continent. And Koketso, very good to have you with you once again. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Thank you for having me, Thami, and hello to everyone who's watching.
Now, Koketso is a senior economist at First National Bank. So let's kick off this week with private sector credit extension, where growth accelerated in July. Do you expect that upward trend to continue in the month of August?
Yes, certainly. So we saw credit extension accelerating in July to 5.8% from 5% previously. And it's important to drill a bit deeper into the numbers. So when you look into the numbers, you will see that it is corporate credit uptake that has been upholding those numbers, So when you look at the household side, you can see that has been relatively muted, not much movement happening there. But what has been also interesting is how vehicles, the purchase of vehicles or credit demand for vehicle purchases has remained relatively robust. So there seems to be quite a strong recovery in that area, both in the household sector and in the corporate sector. But generally what you will see across the different areas is that corporate credit has also been picking up when you look at general loans and advances. So it does seem as though, corporates are taking up credit to run businesses and just keep business afloat. Meanwhile, households are showing you that bit of weakness coming through on the large ticket items, but they have been taking up credit related to credit cards, for example. So that could be a sign of both financial distress, but also just temporarily trying to keep things afloat.
Now, also being released on Tuesday is the quarterly employment statistics. We have seen continued weakness in the formal employment sector when the year started. What are the expectations for the second quarter, and are we seeing signs of recovery?
Yeah, sure. So I think what happened in the first quarter as well, which is something that we like to highlight at the start of each year, is that you typically do see weakness between the fourth quarter of each year and the first quarter. So as that festive season winds down, you do tend to see those employment losses coming into the system. But what is generally spoken about in terms of the formal labor market in South Africa is just that constant weakness. There hasn't been really robust employment creation. You still do see a lot of people either being underemployed or unemployed or discouraged. So unfortunately, that theme still holds. And with weak economic activity and weak economic growth, you will unfortunately still see the labor market remaining tepid. But what we do expect for the second quarter is in line with that more positive GDP outcome. You could also see, some employment gains having been made. We hope those will be on a full-time basis. We also hope for more broader employment creation across the different sectors. But Thami, I don't think this is the year we will see those robust gains, maybe in the outer forecast period, especially with those reforms coming through.
Now, August trade balance is also expected to be published, and the country recorded a solid trade surplus again in the month of July. Is that trend likely to continue?
That was quite surprising, right? Because in July, we thought, with all those tariffs kicking in, we might start to see the impact coming through, especially on the vehicles front. But I think what's really managing the situation is that companies are telling us that they're trying to find new markets for exports. So I think that's what's really coming through, especially in the agricultural sector. So we hope those numbers will continue to show us a little bit of positivity. There's also been positivity when you look at commodity prices. So hopefully that's something that also upholds our terms of trade. But in general, what you will also see over the forecast period is as you see that those reforms taking shape and maybe investment in machinery and the likes, you're probably going to also see imports picking up steam as well. So in general, we do still see that surplus as a positive. We still do see terms of trade remaining positive, but over the forecast period, you can expect those imports to also start to come through into the system, especially if you consider the fact that for those sectors that haven't quite managed to find new markets, exports will show you that weakness. So unfortunately, over the forecast period, we see that surplus starting to wind down. But hopefully South Africa will become more competitive over time, and we will see positive terms of trade and trade balance as well.
Kogetso, as we wrap up for today, also on Wednesday, the new vehicle sales data for the month of September are going to be released. And I'm wondering, how are interest rates and inflation trends influencing vehicle sales patterns and particularly entry-level models?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because our argument or our analysis is that there seems to be indications that the vehicle market space is definitely being upheld by these low-cost entry-level vehicles that are supporting spending at the consumer level, especially if you can think about the constraints that some households are still experiencing. And then at the same time, you're also seeing lower interest rates, low inflation. So even if you look at vehicle price inflation in the consumer price basket, you will also see very low inflation, historically low inflation in that area. So I think that has really been supporting vehicle sales, new vehicle sales, and hopefully we continue to see that pulling through in the September numbers that we expect this week.
Kogetso Mano, it's going to be a very, very busy week. Looking forward to touching base with you on the aftermath of all of those announcements and releases. Thank you for your time once again today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's Kogetso Mano. She's senior economist at First National Bank. She brings us to exactly 2 minutes to 5 p.m. Central African time. And we say bonjour to you, Joël, as we get ready for Vue d'Afrique.
Bonjour Thami, bonjour à tous les auditeurs de Channel Africa. Sur Vue d'Afrique, tout à l'heure, il sera question des législatives au Gabon et aussi du lancement de la campagne pour la présidentielle du 12 octobre au Cameroun, mais encore de l'Est de la RDC où des nouveaux affrontements ont été signalés. C'est tout à l'heure sur Vue d'Afrique. Merci de rester connecté. Merci Thami.
Merci beaucoup. And that's how we as African Business come to the end of our time together today. Thank you so much to our entire team. From the news desk, Onele Nzinzi. From the economics desk, Chanduko Ligege. Sports, Musiburi Makura. Also to our production team. Thank you very much to our producer, Mabu Boloka. Social media talent, Butelezi. as well as Sfiso Oslope. And also, very big thank you to Kathy Malika, our technical producer. I'm Thami Ngubeni. This has been your Monday edition of Africa in Business on Channel Africa. Over now to Vous d'Afrique and the French desk.